time, I'm thrilled to introduce two extraordinary Jewish leaders, longtime friends and teachers of mine who bring deep historical perspective, moral clarity, and love for the American Jewish story. Rabbi Sharon Brous is the senior and founding rabbi of IKAR, an innovative Jewish community based in Los Angeles. Rabbi Jacob J. Schacter is a senior scholar at the Center for the Jewish Future and university professor of Jewish history and Jewish thought at Yeshiva University. Both of these esteemed scholars and leading moral voices also serve as strategic advisors to a more perfect union. Welcome, both of you. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'll
Thanks for
start.
having me.
Yeah, of course. Of course, it's a gift. I'll start with a brief caveat that emerged from our prep call a week ago. Both Rabbi Schachter and Rabbi Brous are equally invested in the Jewish project in Israel as they are in the Jewish project in the United States. And both see these projects as intimately intertwined. That being said, because our work at A More Perfect Union is laser focused on ensuring the vitality of democracy in this country, we've agreed to keep the focus of our conversation on the American Jewish context. With that in mind, one of the great strengths of American Jewish life is that it has never been monolithic. The fact that the two of you come from different backgrounds and perspectives makes this conversation not just interesting, but deeply American and deeply Jewish. So to start us off, I want to ask both of you, when you step back and consider 250 years of Jewish life in America, what do you see as the greatest gift that American democracy has made possible for the Jewish people? Rabbi Schachter, we'll start with you.
So I want to start by saying, Mr. Dorfman, Aaron, how much of a pleasure and privilege it is to be with you and to be a supporter of the incredibly important work that you do. And I also want to say it's a privilege to be on the same panel, on the same screen with Rabbi Brous, who is a thoughtful leader in our community, who leads her community and is a role model for leadership with wisdom and with integrity. It's very special to be together with you. The question is, what's the greatest gift? It's hard to come up with the greatest gift, but I want to talk about a foundational gift, and I want to make it very personal. I want to talk about the gift that America gave my grandparents to be able to come here and to actually become American and to make it possible for Jews from all over the world to find a haven and a refuge and a life and a future in our great country. I want to frame it around a letter that my late father wrote to his parents. My late father, Rabbi Herschel Schachter, was the first American Jewish chaplain to enter into a concentration camp on April 11th, 1945, the Buchenwald concentration camp. He was a rabbi. He was a pulpit rabbi in Stanford. He volunteered for the army, and his parents were absolutely appalled and unalterably opposed to his joining the army. He was the youngest of 10 children. They wanted him close to home. He was still single, 25 years old. And he writes them a letter explaining why he finds it absolutely imperative to violate the biblical obligation of honoring your parents and to go against their will and to join the army. I want to quote a couple of lines, and this is my response. I thought a great deal about your feelings of sorrow concerning my decision to leave my comfortable position here, Stamford, Connecticut, and enlist in the army of our blessed land, the land of freedom and liberty, the only land among all the lands of the earth that has conferred equality and the right to exist to the children of Israel, to go to fight for her and to protect all of these rights on our behalf and on behalf of the entire world. Are we not obligated as faithful Jews to dedicate our lives on behalf of this, our truly blessed country that provided refuge and tranquility to our wretched and oppressed brethren? Please consider, dear Father, where would you be had America not opened her compassionate doors and gates to all who knocked, to all those persecuted and downtrodden from all the ends of the earth? America opened itself up to my grandparents. All four of my grandparents are immigrants, and I am here and I am an American because America made that possible. Now, we understand that this whole issue is, of course, a subject of tremendous contention and disagreement in the contemporary culture in which we find ourselves at this moment. But I want to stress the fact that my understanding of an incredible gift for America, for me, and for American Jews, and we hope that this extends to others as well, is to appreciate the gift, the importance, the value, the opportunity that we have. Um, America opened up its doors to my grandparents. I'm here because of that. I'm a proud American because of that. And I express my gratitude to this gift that America gave my family and gave to so many American Jews, and hopefully and appropriately will give to so many others.
Thank you, Rabbi Schechter. You've told me that story before, but it is again so deeply moving. Rabbi Brous.
First of all, thank you, Aaron, for the invitation to join this conversation. And Rabbi Schechter, you bring me to tears, and I'm so grateful to you for sharing your family's history, which resonates so deeply with my own and with, I'm sure, so many American Jews. Um, I I want to start by sharing something that I learned from a good friend of mine, Professor David Myers, who's the head of the history department at UCLA, an incredible Jewish historian. And he writes a book called A Short Guide to Jewish History, or A Short History of the Jewish People, something like this. And he makes the argument that paradoxically, Jewish survival over the course of our long history can be attributed to two countervailing vectors that are both somewhat ironic. On one hand, assimilation, which is something we always think of as a threat to Jewish life, but it is our ability to acclimate to all different kinds of political and social environments and figure out a way to survive in those environments. And at the same time, anti-Semitism, which we also see as one of the grave threats facing the Jewish people, but he sees as a guardrail preventing the full assimilation of Jewish people into whatever the dominant society is. So I'm so struck and challenged by and interested in this idea. The two countervailing vectors of assimilation on one hand and anti-Semitism on the other. We are like everybody else and we're not like everybody else. And that is what he believes has preserved Jewish life and vitality over the course of thousands of years when we could easily have been absorbed into the broader population or destroyed by those who had designs against us. Now, America is different. It is the same and it's different from all the other places that we've ever been throughout Jewish history. And I've been reflecting, Aaron, on your question about what the gift of American democracy has been to the Jewish people. And I think that what we have gotten here in this place over the course of the last 150, 250 years is the freedom to live our Jewish religious and spiritual and communal lives in a way that is open and creative and courageous, which has given us the chance to create vibrant and diverse and evolving Jewish experiences, Jewish communities, expression of Jewish spirituality and learning and leadership. And at the same time, that freedom, that democracy has given our people in this place has shaped not only our private lives and our ability to develop really rich Jewish lives, but also our public voice, our collective public moral voice as a Jewish people. And so the blessing hasn't only been that we're safe here and that we've survived in this place, but really that we've finally been given the opportunity at the same time that Jewish life is flourishing in the public square in the state of Israel, also for Judaism to really flourish in a public way in the United States, for our Jewish moral muscle to help us shape the broader society that we're living in, to help us build this society by bringing our deepest Jewish values into the public square, the values of the pursuit of justice and dignity and compassion and peace into the public square, often without fear. And that, I believe, has been absolutely transformational and remarkable, both for us as Jews and for our Jewish self-understanding, and also for American democracy. And I think a lot about the writings of Eric Ward and others who speak about how the Civil Rights Coalition, which has been so critical to the health and thriving of American democracy has had Jews at the heart of it, in partnership with Black Americans who are also pursuing justice, in partnership with so many other American groups. We have been at the heart of so many of those movements because at the heart of our self-understanding is the obligation to care for and protect the most vulnerable, to stand up against hatred and discrimination and bigotry, to defend the dignity of every human being. That is a call to responsibility, and Jews have taken that call very seriously, even as we've been working to develop the flourishing of our own institutions and spiritual lives and institutions of Jewish learning in this place. The call to appear in the public arena as Jews with a force of commitment to building a better society. That is something that we have taken very seriously over the last couple of centuries in this place.
It's an amazing answer, Rabbi Brous, and it tees up really well the next question that I want to ask. If the last thing that both of you talked about was the enabling environment that American democracy has created for Jews to thrive, I'm curious now about the obverse, right? We're marking this anniversary at a time when democratic norms are under enormous strain. National trust is low, polarization is very high. And I'm curious what Jewish values or teachings or virtues feel especially urgent and important and salient right now. And Rabbi Brous, we'll start with you.
I think we have to go back to the most basic, most foundational value of all, which is that every human being in our tradition is accorded an inherent dignity and preciousness by virtue of being created in the image of God. And that our responsibility as Jews is to build a society, to build social constructs, to build policies and rules and communal institutions that would be worthy of the image of God. And I think a lot about what it means that we hold this foundational dream that every person should and must live with dignity while living in a world that, as Rabbi Shai has been saying for many, many years, makes a mockery of that dream every day. And I think the most critical work of our time is remembering that that is the very heart of our faith. And that's the heart of how we're called to show up. And that impacts everything from the most intimate and smallest encounters that we have in our own households, to our shuls and our schools, to our cities, to this whole nation. And so, what that means in a very practical sense is that that the reason that Jews thrive in democracy is because democracies are called to affirm the rights and the dignities of every individual, which happens to align very beautifully with our most central faith commitments. And when we see the erosion or the evisceration of democracy, what's happening is not some abstract political transformation, but it's actually an attack on the most core elements of our Jewish faith and who we're called to be. And so it is absolutely in our best interest to respond by doing everything in our power to strengthen and to save democracy. Not only because democracies keep Jews safe, but also because as Jews, we have a values alignment with democratic norms, which are designed to protect the most vulnerable people, just as we are called to protect the most vulnerable in our midst.
Yeah, I think that alignment is incredibly powerful. Rabbi Schechter, for you, what are the Jewish teachings or values that feel like the animating ones for us to invoke in this particular moment?
I've got a couple, and I'll mention them momentarily. Rabbi Brous mentioned David Myers, and paradoxically thinking that assimilation is actually something potentially very positive. So there's this wonderful article I read many years ago by the late Professor Gerson Cohen, who was the chancellor of JTS, The Blessings of Assimilation.
Mm.
And it got me to think about this in an entirely different perspective, that thank God that we have a chance to interact with the cultures around us. Thank God that we have a chance to give to and to take from and to be involved in a conversation. So, it's not just something that's bad, but it's something that is actually a blessing. I have a couple of Jewish values, and I want to share them as briefly and as succinctly as I can. The first one is I think that we need to be confident in our beliefs and perspectives, and we need to be confident in the importance and in the correctness of our work and in this work, the work that Aaron, you are leading us in. I want to cite a few lines from a poem by Natan Alterman, 20th century Israeli poet and playwright. And at the end of his poem, he said as follows, he wrote as follows: Then the devil said, this besieged one, how shall I defeat him? He has courage and skill to act. He has weapons and wisdom on his side. And he said, I will not take away his strength. Neither bridle nor bit will I put on him, nor will I make him faint-hearted, nor will I weaken his hand as in days of old. Only this I shall do. I shall dull his mind, and he will forget that his cause is just.
Mhm.
Thus said the devil, and the heavens paled with fear, and they watched him rise to carry out his plan. I think a lot of the challenges that we have now is that we're forgetting that our cause is just, is correct, is right, is necessary, and to stay the course and to recognize how important that is. Number two, Kol Yisrael Arevim Ze Bazeh, all Jews. Now, technically, it's a juridical obligation. All Jews are technically responsible. What does it mean? So the context is an Arev is a cosigner. I want to buy a house. I don't have enough money. I bring my friend to the bank. My friend signs. My friend is my Arev. If I can't pay the mortgage, the bank goes after my friend. So it's very technical. It's very juridical. Many years ago, quoting my late father again, he said there's another interpretation of this phrase that I want to bring to your attention. What does Arev mean? Ayin Reish Bet. It's a verse in Song of Songs. Hashme'ini et kolech. Let me hear your voice. Ki kolech Arev. Arev means sweet. I want to hear your voice because your voice is sweet. Kol Yisrael Arevim. Forget the juridical, forget the technical. All Jews need to be sweet to one another. That's what it means. Now, in the crazy, fractured, you talked earlier, divisive, distrusting context in which we live, this sounds Pollyannish, it sounds naive. But I think we need to lean in. And the way to lean in is not to start tilting windmills. But I tell my students and I tell my children and I tell my grandchildren, you model this in your behavior, in your circles, with your family, with your friends, with your neighbors. You take it one by one by one. I'm not changing the world. The world is out of control. But if each one of us, force multiplier, if we just act nice, and if we act nice, nice means I don't agree with you. I don't necessarily accept what you say, but I have respect for you. You have an opinion. I have an opinion. You'll convince me. You won't convince me. I'll convince you. To change the level of the rhetoric and to be nice. And it's not silly. It's real. It's real on the ground. In synagogue, turn to your neighbor and just be nice. At Kiddush, be nice. In the supermarket, be nice. I know it sounds a little bit like, I don't know, like loopy, whoopy, loopy.
It does
Uh,
not.
but especially now, let's not forget that. And let's anchor that to the phrase, Kol Yisrael Arevim Ze Bazeh. The last value is Dina de Malchuta Dina. It appears many times in rabbinic literature. The law of the kingdom is law. Civil law is binding. It's religiously mandated obligation. It's legally mandated. It's technical, but it's also, I think, incredibly super profound. When the rule of law is under siege, And I think we're seeing that. We need to affirm the validity, the legitimacy, the necessity simply of the law. This is a Jewish value that I consider to be important. Number one, we have it right, and don't let anybody talk us out of it. Stand up. Stand up for what we're doing. It's so central. Number two, arevut. Speak with humility. Speak with human decency. Speak with sensitivity. And number three, never, ever challenge, always recognize the power, the centrality of the rule of the law of the land.
Mm.
Thank you, Rabbi Shachter.
Can I
Rabbi Brous. Oh,
can
yeah, please.
I want to add something. Thank you for this. I really deeply appreciate it. And I think sometimes the idea of kindness and tenderness and compassionate engagement, you said I don't want to seem Pollyannish when I say this. I mean, it seems sometimes like people feel they have to make a choice between advocating for structural change and for justice and being kind. And it's not a choice, actually. And I so deeply appreciate the way that you put this. And I want to share with you that after an election some years ago, presidential election, when my children were still small. They went to sleep before the election was decided, and they woke up in the morning and their feet like little pitter pattered into our room, and they said, "Who won? What happened?" And we told them who won, and they burst into tears and threw their bodies on the ground, and they were very upset, and they were worried about their safety, about their loved ones' safety, about the future, all the things. And I think it was an incredible moment. And I gathered up all of my rabbinic and maternal power in that moment, and I turned to the children and I said, "You listen to me." I said, "We are exactly the same people that we were yesterday, except now the world is going to become more callous and more cruel and a darker place. And that means we have to be exactly who we are, but even more so. It means we're kinder to each other, we're more patient with each other, we're more compassionate to one another. Now we have to create an oasis of love and justice in this house." And the kids were very serious and wiped their eyes and said, "Okay, Ma, okay, we'll do it." And as I say, it lasted for like 12 minutes, but it was the best 12 minutes. And then I brought it to the community on Shabbat and really talked about the way that Shabbat creates sacred space in time. We now have to create sacred pockets in our society, in our shuls, in our book groups, in our homes, in our schools, in which we treat each other the way we want everybody to be treated in the world. We have to model the beloved community in the spaces that we can control. Otherwise, we have no right to talk about how angry we are that that Congress doesn't reflect our dream if we can't even manifest that dream now. So I said, no more fighting over parking spots, no more fighting over the last piece of lox at Kiddush. Now we turn to each other with love. We have to manifest the kind of tenderness that we want to see reverberating out throughout our society now.
I agree very, very much with what you're saying because I feel helpless sometimes. I look at this massive uphill battle that we're facing, especially now, and especially the work that you're doing, Aaron, and that we're all trying to do. But I recognize and I try to tell myself first, and then those who I have a connection with, you can only tackle this if you do it one by one.
Hmm.
You can't change America. It's too huge, but you can change people, and those people will change people. You can only do what you can do, but you really have to lean in to make sure that you do what you can do.
100%. I think that is an extremely like your counterintuitive kindness and gentleness and tenderness, right? It feels at first like a surrender to say, no, I'm just going to focus on the local thing that I can actually do. But that's where our locus of control is, and it actually turns out, I think, to be profoundly empowering.
And I
Uh,
don't think it can stop there, Aaron. I just want
no,
to
no,
say
of course,
I
of
don't think we have
course.
to choose one or the other. I mean,
Uh,
and just to say, I mean, even the way that many of the protesters in Minneapolis responded to military force and attacks on their neighbors, but they responded with song. I
Hmm.
mean, think of the power of that with beautiful, joyful singing in the streets. And they're saying this movement needs to model the values that we want our society to hold. And so we have to start in the local, and we also have to work on the global, but we have to wherever we go manifest the core values that we hope to see realized in the most global sense.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, invoking Minneapolis, I think, is really compelling because so much of the work that happened in Minneapolis was not about a national statement. It was about neighbors taking care of each other, making sure that kids got home from school, making sure that people
That's
got
right.
food, making sure that people who couldn't get to their jobs had resources. I think that is the powerful part of the critical, powerful work of civic renewal that is the bedrock of a healthy democracy. We've got time for one question from, there's several questions coming from the audience. I'm going to share one of them with both of you. The question is, how do we build bridges for more support for democracy without alienating those on the other side of the partisan aisle? Right? Like this is democracy has become a term that is often partisanized. So I'm curious if either or both of you have insights about that.
I would say it's the underlying assumption of the question makes me very sad. And that is that all of a sudden democracy becomes partisan. And democracy, oh, if you're in favor of democracy, so you must be on one side. And what's the other side? The other side is not in favor of democracy. It bespeaks a level of divisiveness that we have descended to. And it makes me very sad. I think that's the point to try to make, that we have a great deal in common. We may disagree about how it plays itself out and what it should look like. And even there, we shouldn't really disagree. But certainly when it comes to the basic fundamental principle, there's no question that this is centrally significant.
Thank you. Rabbi Brous.
Yeah, I think we have, it makes me sad too, and I think it is the reality. I think democracy has become a partisan issue in our time, and I think we have to go back to what the core values are, and the way that the rule of law, that liberal democracy is what keeps us safe. The way that no, just as no man is an island, no religion is an island. There's no one community that will be saved when a society descends into authoritarianism, fascism. And so we really need each other, as hard as it is to see ourselves, especially in a moment when Jews really feel besieged all around the world, as hard as it is to be imaginative about how to invest in coalition building, and link arms with people who we don't see everything the same way as. We cannot make it through this storm alone. We cannot. And so it is absolutely essential to us that we find a way to attach to those core values, both within the Jewish community, where there's a tremendous amount of breakage that's happened over the past several years, and also beyond the Jewish community, because many of our multi-faith coalitions have really fallen apart since October 7th. And I think it's absolutely critical that we're investing both in our Jewish house and also in the democracy house, in among the people who really care about and need to be invested in having a strong and enduring democracy.
Thank you. And yes, I agree. We live at a more perfect union every day in the like insistence that protecting democracy is not a partisan issue, despite attempts to characterize it as such. I think that needs to be. I think we need to hold to that. Rabbi Schechter, to your point earlier, we need to hold to our convictions that that is just true. I want to close like we've been doing some reflecting back, and I want to do a last question that's a look forward. I'll ask like for a one sentence answer. Rabbi Brous, I'll start with you, and then we'll close with Rabbi Schechter. So a birthday is both it's an opportunity to reflect on the past and also an opportunity to look toward the future. And the question is, if you could summarize the American Jewish charge for the next 250 years in a single sentence, what would that
I
be?
I think it's not fair to ask a rabbi to do anything in a single sentence,
You,
but I'm
you're
thinking
welcome
about
to three semicolons. Okay, three
I'm
semicolons.
I'm thinking about Dr. King's extraordinary commencement address at Oberlin, in which he did, as he often did, he spoke to the lesson of the story of Rip Van Winkle, which really is harkening back to the story of Choni in Masechet Ta'anit, in which the moral message that Dr. King drew is don't sleep through the revolution.
Yeah.
Do not pretend that the whole world is not changing right now and that we're just going to wake up one day and everything's going to be like it was before. Right now, we are facing a confluence of tremendous crises. They are global crises of climate, of technology, and of autocracy. We have to address that as a Jewish community. We have to take that threat very seriously. We have to double and triple down in liberal democracy right now, and we have to do it with love. So don't sleep through the revolution.
It's great. Thank you. Rabbi Schachter.
Lean into your Jewish identity. Be proud to be Jewish. Lean into your Jewish faith, your Jewish practice. Lean into your Jewishness. To me, American Jewry will not survive unless there's a proud Jewish community, whatever that is. And we have all different kinds of explanations, and we disagree. Whatever it is, lean into it, learn about it, celebrate it, be proud of it, and then we've got a shot that, please God, we should be around, if we're not in Israel, in 250 years from now.
Ken Yiratzon. Thank you both, Rabbi Brous, Rabbi Schachter. It is such a gift to learn with and from you. I'm excited already. I'll preview for everybody else that the three of us have a planned chavruta to continue this conversation offline later. Sorry, it makes you all jealous. Really, really, really grateful. And wishing both of you a Shabbat Shalom and a Chag Purim Sameach.
Thank you.
Um,
And thank you
Thank you
so
so
much,
much.
Aaron. Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Brous. Really, really a pleasure to be with you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Rabbi Schechter.